Pediatrics. This was, probably my worst rotation. And by worst, not because I scored the lowest on this rotation, because it definitely wasn't. But the worst because I didn't really enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not enjoy my pediatric rotation. And it's not because of the kids, if I want to love the kids, but pediatrics, let's see, what was wrong with pediatrics? One, kids in general are like scared of physicians, right? They're scared of the doctor in general. Kids are so small. Kids are scared of people they don't know, especially people that are like, several times bigger than them. And the typical adult that they don't know is bigger than them, but I'm typically bigger than the average adult. I'm like 6'2", 230 pounds. So I feel like when I see a kid is immediately scared right away. So I didn't really like that part. So, being already 6'2", 230 pounds, a physician wearing a white coat in a hospital where they just probably got an injection or two or an IV or whatever, kids are probably not a big fan of who I am. And it's okay. That's perfectly fine. But I just couldn't, and I know a lot of people use the baby voice to kind of like, augment, how scared kids can be, but my baby voice is not really good. I'm the type, I don't even have the baby voice, really. I talk to the kids like, hey man, stop crying. We gotta do this thing, ask questions or blah, 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 figure out what's going on. And the thing with kids is like, kids can't process what you're saying. And so that's what I didn't understand. That's what I didn't like about pediatrics. When you're talking to a child and like, hey, say your kid's in pain, or if they're vomiting, or if it's abdominal pain or whatever, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, kids can't really understand the medical processes that's going on to cause the abdominal pain, to let them know like, hey, just give it some time. Don't worry. This is what's going on. We got this lab value. But you can't really talk to the child. And so because you can't talk to the child, you kind of lose that rapport with the child to kind of relate to them and let them feel, reassured that you're trying to do your best to take care of them. At least for me. A lot of times I had to talk to the parents. And so I'm talking to so every time the kid sees me, the kid thinks something bad's going to happen. They're scared, blah, blah, blah. I don't really get much time to address the kid. And so I go to the parents and I talk to the parent, and then the parent talks to the kid. And it's just like, I'm just this, like, who are you exactly? Like, this guy just comes in here while I'm in pain, can't really always do something about it, talks to my mom and dad, and then walks out. I'm not gonna, it's just not it for me, Another thing I didn't like about pediatrics too is that the parents, to be fair, like, it was difficult. One thing I would say, when you go into pediatrics, you have to understand that you're not only just dealing with the patient, which is a child, you're dealing with the parents. So you have to deal with the child's understanding, the mom's understanding, and the father's understanding. And sometimes the parents be the worst part. They be the ones that don't even understand, like, or they don't give you reason. Like, they don't reason with you well. And so you're struggling trying to explain things to them all the time. And they're like, no, well, this is wrong, or da da da, blah, blah, etc. You got to give it to them. Like, the kid is fine, though. The kid is okay. Like, trust me, this is fine. This is okay. The kid's going to feel a little bit of pain, but, it's overall for their benefit. And even though the kid might not mind something, the parent is really like, it's a lot. You're dealing with parents, Some parents might be, overreacting. Some parents might be underreacting. Some parents might be dismissive. Some might be too involved, or whatever the opposite word of dismissive is. But the point is, you're dealing with both, and that was kind of difficult for me, So I didn't like it for that reason. And again, with kids, a lot of times kids will just naturally go through things in which it's a natural process of life. It's just normal for them to go through these things and feel these type of ways. And sometimes the best management for the child is really to kind of let them go through it and let their body adjust and develop its own way of fighting against certain things. But then on the flip side, with kids, a lot of things can go wrong. And a lot of things can go wrong if they're missed early and not treated right away. So it makes it kind of scary and high risk. Like, a kid could vomit one time and it could really just be vomiting. Like, hey, the kid just vomited, had some bad food, and it's fine. Or the kid could have vomited and there can be actually something internal going on that's causing the vomiting, something neurologically that's causing the vomiting. You got to kind of rule all these things out. And another thing with kids is the medications that we use. A lot of times given an adult a medication, okay, their body is, will adapt well, can kind of fight it through or push the medication. It'll be effective and then it'll clear in their body. Children's a little bit different. Children, they're still developing their organs. And so the medications you use, they can have very harmful effects on the child, either acutely, like right away, or chronically, like longer term. And so you need to know all of these different things. Kids are difficult or not even difficult. Kids are complicated is the word I should say. Kids are very complicated, and you have to be careful in your pediatric rotation, even as a pediatrician in general. But my typical day for pediatrics rotation, it was weird. We started at 6:30, so we had to be ready and everything from 6:30, and we typically didn't get done till like around 6. So it kind of reminded me of my surgical rotation, like how long of the hours we were doing. But it was very similar to internal medicine, where you come in with pediatrics, you get to chart, you get to sign out from the night team. They kind of discuss, everything that's been going on overnight while you left the hospital, and then now here are your patients again. Here are the new patients that we have. You chart review that's going on Epic or whatever EMR system your hospital uses, read all the lab values, all the medications you ordered in the past, any imaging studies, the previous notes from any consultants or from your team the day before, kind of get an idea what's going on with this patient, and then you go see the patient, you talk to the child, see how they're doing, do a physical exam. Hopefully they're not too scared to let you do it. And then obviously you can call the parent. If the parent's not already in the hospital, you call them and you kind of discuss with them any questions they have, you let them know what's happening. And then you meet up with your attending around 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever, and then you guys discuss the patient as a whole. Hey, this is little Johnny. He's our 7-year-old boy who came in here for XYZ. We did this, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like internal medicine. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch that internal medicine video. Probably one of the first videos that I did regarding this rotation series. But essentially that was pediatrics. And after you're done rounding with the attending, seeing all the patients, you then write your notes, put in orders, medications, call families, etc. with the kids, blah blah blah. So that was pretty much pediatrics for me. It's not like bad, because like I said, I enjoyed my internal medicine rotation. Pediatrics wasn't like, oh my gosh, I hate it. It was just more difficult than internal medicine, because it was kids. Kids were afraid in general. Parents were very worrisome, and instead of talking to just one party, like in adult medicine, you just talk to the adults and that's it. You explain it to them and you say this was happening and that's it. With pediatrics, you gotta talk to the child, kind of reassure them that you're here, you're relating with them, you're talking to them, hearing their concerns, and you gotta relay the same exact information back to the parents, whether on the phone or in person, whenever they show up to the hospital. And then on top of that, like I said, the medication dosaging can get very spotty depending on what child you're handling. And yeah, that was pretty much it. This was on the inpatient setting, by the way. So if you're a pediatrician, you can do inpatient or you can do outpatient. Inpatient meaning in a hospital setting, outpatient like in a clinic, like you're the pediatrician, blah, blah, blah. So the pediatrician portion, I actually enjoyed a lot more. To be fair, the pediatrician portion of pediatrics, I enjoyed way more than my inpatient hospital. Did I say that right? Yeah, the outpatient portion, I enjoyed more than the inpatient. And just because I was in like a general, family practice, or not family practice, like pediatrician's office. And the guy with the pediatrician was very nice, very interactive with the patients, with the staff, made me feel comfortable. I did see like practically like 1-year-olds like in the hospital, getting like their monthly checkups, doing the growth charts. And it was pretty cool to kind of see like, oh, this guy right here, I'm seeing for the first time, but the office has been following the same child for like 4 or 5 years now. And I can see like the growth charts, how this child is growing as far as height, growing as far as weight, growing as far as even puberty in general. Like you get to see the transition of how they're telling me like, hey, when this kid first came in, this is how he used to act. And now he's too cool to, say hi to his doctor or to kind of blah, 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 to, talk and express himself, etc. Like you see the maturity. And one thing I did like with my pediatrician, the pediatrician office that I worked at, was that the pediatrician was there for years, like 20, 30 years. Like it was to the point where he saw his patients as a child all the way up until they were turned 18 and they went to a regular family practice. And then they had kids that came in at 5 years old again and got to see them up until they were 17, 18 years old. Like that continuity was pretty cool I would say, if I'm not gonna lie to you, it was pretty cool. And sometimes we had the party visits. A party visit was when like a family would come in and have like 4 appointments for like all the kids, like separate appointments, of course, but it was like you got to see this cousin and their brother. Hey, your brother's growing this tall. We wonder how tall you're gonna grow. Your sister's like this, and how it's just it was cool. The whole interaction, honestly, it was nice. It was very lighthearted. Kids would fiend for stickers, candies, all that type of stuff. We did learn a lot too. More so with pediatrics was more a lot of the social skills that I learned in the outpatient setting. How to interact with someone who's scared, who doesn't know you, who doesn't know what to expect from this visit. Being able to interact with them and relate with them and get them to trust you in that short moment it's where you can actually do some sort of intervention. It's nice. We did a lot of vaccines. We did a lot of assessments. Just it was a great experience. I'm not gonna lie, but that was just the outpatient. The inpatient I hated, and so overall I didn't like pediatrics. But if you like kids and you like that continuity, outpatient is your thing maybe, or maybe you're okay with inpatient and just dealing with the kids and kid anatomy or kid metabolic processes, physiology, etc. Then that's perfectly fine too. Pediatrics is good. I also did do an emergency rotation with pediatrics, which was also pretty cool too. Like I said, not so much because the pediatric portion, but the emergency portion was pretty cool, but it was sad. I will say that straight up, it was sad because you're seeing kids who are in like freaking freak accidents, kids who are really, really sick, who are not feeling well. And so that part was disheartening, definitely. But it was good knowing that you can help them in this immediate crisis, and they felt so much gratitude to you after the fact, because someone who's coming in for XYZ who feels really, really terrible, and you come in and you're fixing them or stabilizing them, making them feel a lot better, they will feel lots of gratitude, and the parents will love you even more as well. So that was my experience with pediatrics. Definitely, if you're into pediatrics, definitely look into it more, but just kind of get a better understanding of what your life will look like during residency and after you complete it. Any questions or concerns or comments about my pediatric experience, please drop them down below. I'll check you guys at the next video.